It's a lot.
You're so cute. Look at you.
I've been working from home too long.
Yeah, I bet you have. So wait, tell me about that. Like, do you just like, you're at home, you're working on stuff, then you have to constantly send graphics and everything over to ABC? Is that what basically your work day?
Yeah, a day in the life of the barista.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wake up at like around, so I get to sleep in actually now. Before, I had to get up super early for the MTA trains, which were never running on time, so it was a disaster.
Fuck.
But now I get to just be in my PJs, set my alarm for like anywhere from 7 to like, I would say like 7:30.
Yeah.
I check, and myself and one other teammate, Danny Perez, we work on the graphics for the show On Location, which is a Facebook live news show.
Okay.
So all of the graphics are done morning of. And so it's very fast paced, and we do animations and transitions and things like that to make that show. But that release is super early, especially Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I start in the morning doing that show, and I'm blocked off because that's like top priority. And then after that time, which usually the show goes up at 11, I then am working on show like graphics for different segments across all of ABC's brands, as well as some of Disney stuff too. So
Wow. Like literally, I'm over in the mountain time right now. I'm over here in Idaho, and it's so you waking up at 7, and I am 5 a.m. just like.
Yeah,
sleep.
It's wild. I used to be someone who slept until like noon.
Right.
And now it's not like that anymore. But it's really good though, because I much prefer working from home. I'm actually finding my stride. I've always been someone who likes to kind of design in private. I don't like people around me, but I really love working at the office at ABC because that was dope. Like, because we're on the same floor. My team is on the same floor as the View guests that come in. So every guest that would go on every single day, you know, you have like Andrew Yang, and you're like, oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Or like,
give us that dividend, you know, you're like.
Right. Like, we've had so many really crazy, awesome people come through that you're just like working on your little graphics, and you turn around, you're like, oh my God. And they like talk to you, which is really sweet.
Yeah,
and,
right.
I met like Whoopi Goldberg, and then I hugged Robin Roberts, who I absolutely adore. And she told me that I was pretty, so I was like, oh, stop it, girl. But that's like, oh my God, Legolas.
Lego.
What did he do?
I mean, we'll keep it in. Hold on.
What did he do?
He knocked down the whole camera.
It's been the bane of this podcast so far.
He knocked over the camera?
You're not in it?
Yeah.
That saucy
Like literally
bitch.
zoomed through.
That saucy bitch.
You're the saucy bitch. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna adjust these.
Yeah, great. You do it. You do that.
Lego, you're so naughty.
Lego, you were so naughty. What's up with you?
I think usually he has like me to pay attention to him, and now.
Because we're both here and not paying attention to him?
Yeah, he is like.
Which is a felony, actually, in House Vogelium. So.
Yeah, for Legolas it is.
It's true. You can keep him in, dude. Like, cuddle that buddy while we're doing this
much
podcast.
Happier now, as you can see.
Yeah, he looks like it. Look at him.
Yeah, now he can get into trouble.
Oh no!
Look at you. Just gotta sit still while I get my
Now
headphones
he's like,
on.
it's time.
Oh, is it time to be naughty, or do you want to chill on my lap?
Just let him go.
All right, I'll let you go. Oh, you want to stay? Okay. Just get your butt on me. Okay, there we go.
Just get your butt on me. That's what we call the title of this podcast.
Just get your butt on me.
Just get your butt on me. That's a new hit single.
On me.
Yeah.
Get your butt on me.
I feel like that's like perfect for like a Brokeback soundtrack. Like right
Also-
after I Can't Quit You.
Yeah.
Get your butt on me.
I can't quit you. Get your butt on me.
I'm gonna talk to, is it like Jake Gyllenhaal? We'll hit him up. He's next on the podcast.
Yeah, right.
Jakey, we're coming for you.
Right?
Busted out the boots.
Right? I just need that booty on my knee, if you please.
Yeah.
I'm at the
Yeah.
cowboy
Yeah.
boots.
Yeah.
That was like the scene.
Right.
Yes.
The cowboy boots, nothing else near the river. My young gay heart was like, what?
Like,
Yeah.
that's how it is. That's how it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, I think that there are definitely certain images that just, it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of your sexuality. You are like, this is just a sexual
Pivotal
experience.
moment.
You know what I mean? Like, I just feel it in my
yeah.
loins, you know?
Yeah, like I was
booty and the
sexually
booties.
assaulted and aroused during that like Super Bowl thing. Like with Janet Jackson. I was like, what?
Oh,
You can just rip
no.
a titty out? I wasn't ready. But
Right.
everybody was just like, and
Yo.
that stuck with you forever.
That does sear in your brain a bit.
You were ready. I love it.
Yeah, that gets in your brain. You're like, whoa, what a... Especially because
For
it's...
you, it was like Shakira, right?
Oh, Shakira was my awakening. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Are we still talking about Super Bowl stuff? Like, is it like, was it Shakira at the
I mean,
Super
not.
Bowl?
Yo, Shakira, by the way, still rocking it. We found
Absolutely.
out. So,
Because I was gonna say,
We.
I was gonna say for me it was
Generally found out. Nick's like Googling late at night after I sleep.
no, that's not true. That's not true. He's definitely playing Apex with me. Like he's definitely
I
doing
know
That's
for
true.
a fact.
Yeah, I know.
That's what he's.
You know for a fact that's what he's doing. Cool.
I'm like getting ready, and then I wake up at 7 to 7:30 to do ABC,
ABC.
just with Apex sounds, just like.
yep.
in my
And I'm
ears.
fast
you.
asleep,
Yeah.
dreaming about being the Apex champion.
Right.
Oh my god!
If you meditate on it, it happens more.
I want to
Yeah,
be
manifest that
the very
destiny.
best that no one ever was. Ba, ba, ba.
I'm so glad that you guys play though, because before Nicholas is becoming such a sad boy. Like he was like, none of my friends want to play the games with me, and then now you guys have Apex. Both
Right.
you and him love it. So I'm like,
You know what I'm thinking
he's
of?
living his best life.
Now that we were talking about it, what we gotta do when we do our whole retreat that we're planning on doing in these next couple of
Yeah.
months, I'll bring my PS4 and a TV, and Spencer bring a PS4 and a TV, and we can all like Apex together at the retreat.
Oh yeah, bonding everyone can enjoy.
Yeah,
Bro, we will stack all three of those and not leave the room.
No. I
Bree's
would
like,
much
I will
rather
put
not.
that. I'm vetoing this right now. I veto this. No.
I mean, I'm sure I could just like smoke and chill.
No. Listen, like,
Don't tempt me with a good time. As long as we're in Washington or Oregon.
we're having good times. Well, and that I'm honestly looking forward to that as well so much because, for listeners out there, I think it's important that, you find those creative people that you just find so much inspiration from. You get all that going, and then like to find a place where you can just escape to focus on one, being together, community, forming those bonds, but then also creating together. And like, what better of a place to create with than all the people you get inspiration from, like some of the main people you get inspiration from. So
Right.
I
agree.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's one of those things too, like even just living with Nicholas, us both being artists, as our relationship has progressed, our art and like our collaboration and us being like, let's start this project or let's do something on this, not only has accelerated, but the topics have gotten deeper, which has made the art so much more raw and, real. And I think that that's really important when you're having like community and you want to collaborate with people. It's really hard to be like, oh, like, let's collaborate on this really deep topic that's gonna, motivate change in this crazy fucking world that's on fire, you know? When you're like, I don't really see you and I don't know where you are in your life. I don't know your heart. I don't know your struggles. I don't know. And so it's like when you're looking for people to collaborate with on art, I I'm the type of person that kind of, you know, wears my heart on my sleeve. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, because people are like, yikes, you're a lot. Or they're like, I like your energy. Let's rock and roll, you know? But it's important to find people and spaces, especially in this time, where you can have that kind of deeper connection, where the art can go to the next level, where, you know, it's hard when you're, and I commend people who are doing virtual like work. It's awesome. You know, there's a need and they're fulfilling it and adapting. But I don't know, that face-to-face community, like, let's spend some time in a secluded place, really explore ourselves and the art that we feel like we need to make in this time as individuals and as like family. When you have artists that you're friends with at this time, I don't know why you wouldn't want to, you know, take some time to do that. You know, I'm like chomping at the bit, like Channing Moore, you know, is like one of my best friends of all time. And I'm like, girl, the moment I get to the West Coast, we're going to meet up and make some art. Like,
oh, that's exciting.
You know,
that's exciting.
It's just, it's really important, I feel like, to be able to do life with the people you want to collaborate with. You know, not all work, you know. I also work for corporate America, ABC, you know, like, it's cool to have that balance, though, of that deep art with your friends and your family that you can really, you know, just explore your soul with.
Totally.
You know, kind of like the Coaster Show, in my opinion, like... That's a great example of
bringing it back.
That. Yeah, bringing it back.
I mean, that's definitely a huge lesson that I learned after moving to New York. It's just like, I find myself going back to the West Coast. And going back to what I know and back to the people who I feel most comfortable making work with. Which I think we talked about a little bit on our last podcast too. It's just like, so important to have the right community around you, especially when, like, you know, I don't know, I'm just someone who definitely is a collaborator at my core. I need that, like, oh, I have this idea and this idea. What do you think? Oh, you think this? Well, what if we tried this? And oh, if that leads to this, then we can express it through this medium and go, you know, those conversations, I have to be having them with someone. It's tough for me to do all of that work myself, but then I find that when I reach out and when I'm using that that connection and that collaboration, things always turn out, you know, twice or three times as good as they would have had I just done it myself or not had those conversations and not had those collaborators.
That's right. Well, you know, and I think that there are those people too. We all experience the world differently. We all experience how we tackle our art differently. And I'm with you, Nick. Like, I'm very much a collaborative person. I love like mining and stuff like that from other people. And while there are other artists that find inspiration just from their quiet place, from their solitude, and they are able to just like they need to like camp out, which also brings me to you, Brye, because Brye, I feel like you are one of those artists that literally can put yourself in any situation and thrive. Like, I've seen you are able to. I've seen you be able to be in a collaborative theater situation and be able to create stuff, but then also like, oh, I have this vision, I'm going to create this, make this happen, and it's truly inspiring for me. And I'm like, who is this anomaly of a person?
That's really sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate that compliment. I think that like a response to that can go into different angles. And so I think the first angle that I'll take is the positive route. And that is, I started off as someone who really had a wide variety of background experience throughout all forms of art and really loved that. And I looked out and was like, oh, shoot. Like, you know, I was president of the varsity choir, you know, deal for my high school, did the whole, like, show choir, performing arts, theater, acting, dance, all of it. And then really got into behind the scenes art when I got really into cinema, because I am a big cinephile. So I was like, laid them all out, and I'm like, which one not do I love the most, but will make me the most money?
Right. And
that's the career that I chose. But what I decided to do is, like, as I went in to college, there was this, like, and I think everyone, I don't know about the younger generations of Cornish peeps, but it was like presented to me, and I think a lot of other Cornish alum, that it was a very like multidisciplinary experience where you could do a lot of different kinds of art, and that was like encouraged. That was not the case after I signed, sealed, delivered my thing. And Cornish was a really tough experience for me. I graduated early, which was great, but also because I wanted to get the heck out, because I was very pigeonholed.
Me too. I hear you.
Yeah, which I think was really unfortunate, because we're also customers, but I think that I come from a really strong-willed father who has like a very crazy background, and he's always taught me to kind of fight for what I need. So when I was in that experience,
go Jay.
Yeah, shout out to Jay Jones.
Jay Jones. But yeah, when I was in that experience, instead of doing what a lot of students did, which was just like, just try to make the best of the situation, I didn't accept that, and I fought tooth and nail with administration. I got into the Vogl program as a design student. I got an internship with Walt Disney World for entertainment, which is really hard to do for character performing in theater. And then got that applied to my credits for design somehow. But I made it work, because I refused to have those other avenues shut down, because I knew that I loved it. And I didn't want to get out of college and be like 4 years, 3 years, out of experience. So I forced myself, and I had a really stressful, like intense schedule of a college experience until I met y'all, which you guys taught me to live a little, and I found a crew. But that was another thing too. As a designer, I'm very outgoing, I'm outspoken, and that was not really the crew that was around me in the design community. And so it was kind of lonely and hard. But what I will say is that now that I came to New York, that paid off. And I realized it was more of like a Seattle problem. And I think it's a small-minded issue, because I think a lot of people can feel it in a Renaissance age, especially for the arts. We're seeing so much change that is promoting so much art and experience and emotion to come out for people to experience for the very first time. And in a really strong way. And so, when I came to New York, there aren't those limits. So my first year here, I did background work for Netflix and did little video things. But then I also was working on, performing arts and design and all of that, and paying my bills that way. And I think that it's because I was able to continuously fight for that, and then also surround myself with people who saw me and were for me, and not we all have those friends who are what are you doing with your life? But it's if you have the chance, go for it and prove that you can do all of those things, and then you see it. For example, the music video that I just came out with. I was in this
Yes.
amazing music
Shout
video.
out to Aish Devine,
Yeah.
BBC,
Ash.
Common Question.
Yeah.
Ash
Ash
Devine.
Devine.
Ash
Yeah.
Devine, he's amazing. Incredible artist, came from San Francisco to New York with his partner. They're a power couple. I absolutely love them. But yeah, like here I am in New York, and you know, I have background in film and television from the design perspective, but I also, you know, have worked as a performer and a dancer professionally as well. But they were looking for non-binary artists to come in and perform. And so I got to submit myself. And then I'm like, next thing I know, I'm partnering with these amazing people. This company is incredible, this production company that, you know, made these visions come to life. Velocity Creatives, they're
Very well done.
femme-ran. Yeah, I think they're amazing. Like, they're femme-ran, like the directors were all female producers, art directors, and then the cast and crew were all LGBTQ plus, POC, very diverse, open, just like it should be.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I wouldn't have had this experience had I listened to like people in Cornish being like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you know, they told me my second year, we're cutting your program, no more motion design, deal with it. So it was like, I was like, wait, now what do I do? And they're like, you can work for Amazon or Microsoft. Like, that's not what I wanted. And I think often, you know, I think often for artists, we sit there and are told what we can be, versus listening and then, like, I'm not just saying like take a year off and not work and don't do anything and don't pay your bills, but what I'm saying is like I could see a world where I could design, dance, do music videos, art direct, whatever I wanted, and do it successfully. And I have. And that's just because I didn't listen to all the no's that came my way, which there were a lot, you know? So.
Well, I think that means it shows that you are an example of the antithesis to the whole, like, I don't know what the right wording is, but like the fallacy of specialization, right? Like that you need to just do one thing and one thing only, and that's the only way you can possibly be good at that thing.
Right.
And that's like just completely untrue, you know? Being good at design, like, in ways makes you a better performer.
Right.
Right? And being like, and singing helps you do Shakespeare, and like Shakespeare helps you do anything with rhythm, with music. You know, it's this whole, everything is connected.
And music helps you with video editing. And like, it's this whole circle. And I feel like you can never learn too many things. So it's like, I don't know. It's been, I think going to New York was what helped me realize my potential there, because I think I had felt coming out of Cornish, just like everyone was like, you just don't fit. Like it was weird because I came out as like interdisciplinary designer, and so I was like, I worked in motion, physcom, you know, art direction, whatever, and that was like a package deal, but nobody was looking for that because they didn't trust it, and especially at my age. But here in New York, it's all about like what you can do. So they were like, wait, you can do all these things, come and show us. And then they're like, oh, actually, like, you can be an art director for VaynerMedia on 3 projects at once, where you'll be doing motion design, animation, art direction, strategy, you know, all of it in one role. And they like value that. And you get paid a lot for that, versus people just saying no, and you can accept like, you know, these minimum wages for these artists. And it's just like, so yeah, I just kind of refused to keep hearing it and just fought. Now, it wasn't pretty, and like Nick will tell you that.
I think one of the things probably, I mean, I know that I'm still interested in, but a lot of our viewers probably are wondering is like, what was your road like the road to monetizing your art? How did you go about that? What are some lessons that you've learned? along the way? Because now you are successfully making your full-time living just doing art. So what kind of things do you go by now in your life that helped you get to where you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I know that everyone starts out timid and nervous, and I am the biggest like leader when it comes to like that what's that thing called? It's at the tip of my tongue. Imposter syndrome. I have it head to toe. Like it's crazy. And I didn't used to have this until I had a really bad incident in New York, which I'll kind of come back to. But once I had that was really hard for me to shake. And then I started to kind of understand where other people came, because I've always usually had a very confident air to me that didn't give a flying crap, which is really great when you're starting out. But when I lost that, I had to relearn that. And I think that in that process, that was really valuable for me to realize how important it was for me to really like know the numbers that people were getting paid for the same type of work I was doing, and not just like Google searching it, like actually talk to the people who are in the positions that you want. Right. Or in parallel positions. If you want to like, rest in peace, Refinery 29 and Vice. But like, let's say you want a job at Refinery 29. Well, you need to start looking up the same like people who have like similar jobs in like a Now This, Vice, whatever. Reach out to them and see kind of where, you know, their pay ranges are. There are also really great resources out there on Slack, which is a channel. This is mostly for designers, but I would say like I'm pretty sure they're out there for other creatives as well, especially for femmes and people of color, where there will be channels where they expose how much they make. I always say how much we need to stop this weird thing with artists where we can't talk about money. We want our other artist allies to be making money. I have friends who do better work than me that make less money than me, in my opinion. You know, I may be able to do more things, but their art is just like, amazing. And I'm like, and when they talk to me about their work experience, how they're being treated, and their salary, I'm like, how did you accept this? But it's because they know we're young, they know we're fresh, and they know we're impressionable. So they want to like, after a few years, you just paid so much money or put in so much time to have a degree or a specialty. So the moment you accept something less than what you're worth, you are saying all of that you didn't matter. Right. And I refuse to do that.
Totally. First of all, you're inspiring as fuck. I'm like, I'm taking notes over here. But I've been thinking about this a lot lately too, where it's, you know, when you begin your artist journey and like you really like, all right, I'm getting this career. There is a level of it that I will acknowledge where it's like, yeah, I need to be out in the field. I need to learn. I need to gain experience, whatever that is. Right. But I think that it's interesting to what your point is that it's not about you like, oh, please give me a job. Please, get me this thing. Like, let me, like, how, it's not them benefiting you by gracing you with a job. Right. It is,
this is labor that has to be done.
Right. It's labor that has to be done. And the idea is too, is that, and like that shaped my mentality as an artist after all these years, and like that I've grown in maturity, is like, I'm not looking for someone to help me. I can help myself. It's about making a business partnership. It's about making contract with you saying like, you respect me in this way, I respect you in this way. Here are the ways that we show each other respect on this piece of paper. Right. And if this doesn't work with my values or whatever, I'm going to walk. And I know that my art has value. I know that like what you got going on is a value too. So if it doesn't work out, it's a business transaction, right? The more you start looking at it as like, it's not about like how much experience I gain before I make it big. It's like, as my art, here I am, and this is what I have to say. If people want that, then you're gonna have to do the right things to get that. And that is, I think, to your point, that's such a key thing for artists, especially new artists, to have in their mindsets, is that you have worth. You have, just from your experience of being in all the different disciplinaries, whether you specialized in something or did the path that you did, Brye, of just going everywhere all at once to aid yourself in one package. You have that experience regardless. And so that is something that is profitable. It's something that is worthwhile, meaningful. And, you know, you can fight for that, right?
Right. And it's really, you know, also kind of just going off of that, like when you say, you know, like you look and you talk to the people around you, and you also give yourself that like strength to say, I am worth this, because you have the receipts to back it up.
Right.
You can see companies for what they are. I've been played by companies. Nicholas knows this. Big companies here in New York. And I knew these companies had tendencies to do this.
Right.
Which is great, because that's, you know, people say what you will about cancel culture, but I do think it keeps people and companies you know, responsible, you know, because there are companies, especially out here, that know that they're big and know that that people will do anything. And that works in every artistic industry. There are, you know, people who are going to be like, yeah, we would love to have you, but we're just going to pay you this much because you're starting out for this scene.
Right.
But then you're like, wait, how does that make sense if I'm doing this much rehearsal time? You're expecting me here, there, whatever, you know? Yeah. And so when you know that and you're sitting on the receipts, you go in confident and you speak to people with that confidence. Like, and I don't think everything should be about money. Like, don't misunderstand when I say that. I'm just saying we have to be able to talk about money as artists, and as fellow artists be able to say, hey, I'm making this much. If someone, because like I feel like that's a lot of the problem, especially with designers. They go out and they're like, oh, I'm just like guessing a number for this job because, you know, maybe it's not the exact job I thought I was going to get. I'm not super sure. Right. I'm new. But it's like, no, like work is work and we need to get paid for this. And I'm tired of seeing millennials getting paid for nothing when we provide, you know, so much when it comes to education, our understanding of tech, I feel like every single job a millennial is in right now, like not to hate on it, but like I was doing this right up till like design, like when I got my first like big time job, it's like and do social media with us too. Like people are really getting over on millennials and like squeezing out so much potential. But like what people don't think about is like a social media person gets paid like upwards of thousands, you know, for a few weeks or a week, you know, because that's a lot of freaking time and planning and stories and content. But they're like, oh, that we'll just add that to your job description. Seriously. And it's like, and people are like, okay. And it's like, no, like
I was what was it? I was advertising, marketing, social media guy for our theater company, the Choral Ensemble, for about a month.
It's a lot.
I remember the talk. I was given a talk from all my friends, all my loved ones, being like, people like, Warren, we need to talk about this. This is bullshit. And I was like, I agree. I agree this is bullshit. It is so much. It is so much. It's hard as fuck. It's hard as fuck to do social media content. Like
it is. I was doing social media here with with Mozart from Munchkins, and a couple of the posts that I made took off, like did really, really well in comparison to some of their other videos.
Right.
But they would ask me, hey, why is this post doing so well? And I would just, I had no idea. I was like, I don't know. Like, your guess is as good as mine. I just did what y'all have been doing, you know. And of course, like, I added, you know, I did all 30 hashtags, and I looked up like how to make the like kind of social media secret sauce, but they had already been doing that. So it was like, it was like, why does this one have thousands and this next post, which is the same thing, same hashtags, same kind of videos, similar content, only get 50 views? And it's like, the Instagram gods decided it. You know, that's all that I could do, like be like.
It probably has a lot to do with like the timing in which you posted it, but yeah, it's just weird. Like I don't
see. This is why you pay people, because Brye already knows. So they're like, okay, well, it was these 3 things. That's exactly why that post did well.
I had social media in like my side description of jobs that I did, and this like long line of things, and I'm like, no, like these are individual jobs you need to pay for.
Seriously.
And so it's like, I think I see a lot of people taking an advantage of millennials, and like I think we need to, and it's not all of millennials' fault, but I think there's less millennials who are willing to go out there and be like, no, you're gonna pay me this. I would love to work for you, but this is what I'm worth. And it wasn't until I started doing that and meaning it that people were like coming to me with numbers that like made me clutch my pearls, you know, when I'm on the phone. I'm like, oh, and sure, yeah, that sounds great, you know, like because it was almost like it's, I don't know, at least here in New York, it was definitely, you know, knowing what I was worth and going into the conversation that way, and also knowing how to present myself. Another thing that I would say is like, I took about a year off, not from working. I was still making money, but like I took a year off of like taking really big clients, just like small clients here and there for freelance work. And just really worked on what kind of work do I want to make? Okay, so what does my portfolio need to show? And then what, you know, do I need business cards? What kind of branding do I need for this? So when I went to New York, I'm like, here's my website, here's this, here's that. But for, you know, actors, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, like, do I have a website that looks good, that makes me feel like it represents the kind of work that I want to be getting right now? Is my reel up to date? Okay, if no, then what are small projects or even things that I can mock up at my house, you know, that can like, I can throw up there as like, oh, like, you know, it takes no time to set up like, you know, your own home studio and record yourself doing a powerful monologue and put it up as a sample work on a website. And so when people are looking for things, you have a quick go-to URL where you can be like submitting yourself. But people don't want to take that time. They're like, oh, when I cross that bridge, I'll get to it. No, you won't, because the bridge will be too fast and you won't have anything to show. So really thinking about like where your career path you want it to go, and then, you know, what you need to do via social networking. Who should you be reaching out to? Who do you look up to? Like, I think that's another thing I feel like is hard. People will like look into themselves a lot, and I get that, but you also like, what, like, you got to see what's being made, or you may be missing something that will like spark your brain, inspire something inside of yourself that's like the next biggest thing for your career. So I think it's a really big deal when people kind of like, oh, I just go to Instagram for, you know, inspiration. Not that Instagram isn't good for inspiration, but like also like do your research. Like, go actually on Google, look people up, go on LinkedIn, like look up, you know, see artists who inspire you, and then look up artists who are similar to, you know. To
your point too, it's also a matter to me that one of the biggest things that I learned is like, you need to also experience life. You also need to go out and live life, right? I talked about this with Nick a couple of times, and it's kind of one of my founding philosophies. Like with artists, like sometimes we think that we have to just like constantly be in that world. You know, we have to, like, if I immerse myself in this world as well, if I just dive so deep, then I'll find my way out up top, right? But I think there's a level of it too that it's, as artists, it's also a responsibility to reflect what the world is, to also be a part of this world. And I think like one of the biggest things that's helped me in my artistic career was taking a break from the art that I pursue. And it was insanely huge for me because I grew up, just like with you, Brye, just like with you, I grew up since I was 8 years old. I was in productions until it was the longest break that I ever had was when I went off to, you know, do something different. And it's like the idea, like, you know, Shakespeare says, you know, when you make art, it's holding a mirror up to nature, right? But if you spend your whole time being a mirror, what are you reflecting?
Right.
Yes. Exactly.
And if you don't change your surroundings or, you know, look outside your little small circle, you know, you may never, you know, be pushing your ideas. And like, I really was like inspired by when you were just like, I'm going to France and I'm going to do the wine thing. Cause like that also opened up my eyes. And we had a really crazy night with our friend Channing Moore. And we were like out
Shout
in
out to
Seattle.
Channing Moore as well.
Shout out to my girl. But like, yeah. So like we were out just like having a good time downtown Seattle. And this amazing person comes up with an Australian accent. Her name is JC, and she's so sweet. And she's asking us for directions to find anything interesting. And it's like 7:00 Seattle time, and I'm like, "Ooh, girl," because like Seattle, if you don't know, and maybe it's changed since I left her, but she was like this before. They, you know, lights out 7:00. Like everything is closed, and when you have the Starbucks are closed, it's done. Like nothing else is open, like for business.
Everyone's like, "Why even live?"
Just the weed shops. That's it. Like you know, and so
those Uncle Likes, right.
Right, exactly. So shout out to them. But yeah, so like it was. I was like, oh, you've kind of missed the boat. Everything closes, but we were about to go out for dinner at this really cool brewery. We could kind of show you some things along the way, and if you don't find anything, you're welcome to join us.
Right.
And so we had sat down with her, and she, like, coming from Australia, really opened my eyes. And this was right before you had left for your trip. Yeah, it was like boom, boom. But she sat. Yeah, we were at what's it called? The Tap House. We were at Tap House.
I love Tap House.
Yeah, so that's where we were.
Shout out to Tap House. So many shout outs.
Exactly, right. So we the bomb calamari. But so we take her there, and we all
Shakespeare Porter.
Yeah. And we like all are like sharing a booth, and we start talking about the differences between the expectations and the way of like, are you okay?
All right. No. Carry on.
Yeah, we're talking about like the expectations and like the very different cultures for Australian, you know, kids up into adulthood versus like the lifestyle of Americans. And she was like, yeah, people look at you guys and think like you just work. Well, it's funny because like I never thought of myself as someone who even likes to work. Like I really live to I like work to live versus just like live to work.
Right.
But in my like life, just because of the society we live in here in America, like I can't do that. Like now that I work from home for ABC, it's like boom, 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 which is like you just are kind of caught in this rat race that you didn't choose for yourself. And it's funny because we don't see it until we look around at different cultures, or even just take a break like you did to be like, what is it that I really want to do right now? Yeah. And it's like, unless you do that, it's mostly you see just Americans just kind of like building every single aspect of their lives around their career. Yeah. And it's kind of silly because I feel like career and work, like if you lined up Americans and asked if anybody really loves to go to work, like you'd be like, nah, like, you know, and that's even coming from me, from someone, you know, I like my work, but not as, you know, for all the time, 24/7. I do it to make money. Luckily, I am privileged enough to work in something that I, you know, enjoy.
Right.
But like, it's just weird because like for them in Australia, they like go to high school, and once they finish high school, and a lot of people don't go to high school because just like all throughout Europe and Australia, as most people know, they have a lot of specialty schools too, which is so smart because here in Australia, we're losing like so many skill. Yeah, that's not Australia. Yeah. Here in America.
You need to drink more. You just need to drink more. It's okay.
Yeah. But here in cheers, America, yeah, cheers. Yeah, here in America, we are just like programmed to like, what do you want to be from the moment? I remember having conversations with my twin, with our Nana, and they were like, what college you want to go to? What do you want to be? Like at like 8 through like 11. And like everything is about like standardized testing to get into a college. It's like pressure. And you don't have a second to look around and be like, who am I? Like, what do I want to do? Or like, what is there to see? And in Australia, the moment you get out of like your specialized schooling or your high school, people just holiday. And that is so freaking smart because like you need to just live as a human being. Like now you did like basic learning. Yeah. So you're equipped. Now go out into the world, not just your hometown, but like go out into the world and not just your country. Like do whatever you want to do. Like literally she's like, I'm just here because I want to go here, and then I'm going to do this. And then when I finish and I get it all out of my system, I'll know what I want to do for a career. Right. Which is so better because she'll have those like skill sets to be like, okay, is it practical for me to spend this much money to go to college? Or does the job I want, could I get this, that, and the third? Right. And but there's no pressure. So many more people thrive and find jobs that they actually enjoy. And a lot of them don't go to college, but they have great jobs and they're paid well. But they also don't have this weird itch of like, I've never done anything for myself. Like, like it's weird. Like it's crazy. It's like, it's hard.
That's why myself, if we could change anything, I would love to incorporate into this country, like you learn a trade when you're in high school, and also like, fuck college. Fuck college right now. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God.
Unless you want to do college. Unless you want to do college so bad.
You really need it.
And like myself, I was one of those people that was. I was like, I want to go. I want to go do this thing. And I appreciate it for it. Also, like, and it's an interesting thing too, Brye, that you were saying that because, you know, I also faced a lot of those kind of like constant butting heads with department heads of different branches, just being like, I want to do this project. They're like, no. And you're like, well, we're going to.
You're like, why? And they're like, because we said so.
And I'm like, we're going to do it anyway. You know, like, so wild. Behind your back. But that's, you know, wild. It was crazy. But one of those things about it, though, is, you know, you should learn. And like I think it's a matter of also like a lack of ownership, right? We have to. I think that it would be important for us to learn something as we're growing up, and being able to like, okay, so I'm in high school now, and like, okay, I'm taking this coding course or something, or I'm going to take this construction course, or I'm going to take this nursing course, and being able to do that, and then you come out of it, it's like, well, at least I know how to do this one thing, you know? And like, I have something that I know how to do, even if it's not like what I'm inspired to do, at least I know how to do something that helps my community. And and I'm just like in high school, I just graduated high school, you know?
And I can go be a productive, like integral part of this society right away. And anytime it's funny because that actually allows you to pursue what you want. Having that backbone of like, oh, I can actually just like go be a plumber and make
a good amount of money
$80,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like just like supporting my community, fixing broken pipes, like doing something that the community actually needs.
Right.
And with that, I get this security of knowing that I have that skill, knowing I have something to fall back on, and now I can go pursue being a ballet dancer and actually pursue it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever your want is, because you know if you do fail, you have something to come back to.
Right.
Now, I don't know. Just to echo the whole Australian versus American thing, like the most stressful year of my life for sure was like senior year of high school, where you're applying for colleges and everyone is asking you what you're going to be doing next.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to know.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to know, 18 years old, been in school forever. Like if you really, really have a full grasp on what you want to do, you're probably like a psychopath.
Or you're
like,
just telling yourself that.
Right.
For me, like I was like, oh, like I like doing all of these artistic endeavors and I want to be able to like not work so hard where I'm stressed out, but like have money.
Right.
But then they were like, no, like you can be like a designer and work at these companies, you know? So it's like, you're like, okay, well, I guess like that's the best choice. So that's what I'm going to be. And you have to believe it wholeheartedly because there's a million other people like fighting for your spot in this American college system. Right. And so it's like, it's so competitive that you like kind of trick yourself to be like, I want to do this like 24 hours a day. I'm in it. And then like the moment you get out, you're like, wait, like I kind of don't want to do this right now. Like I just did that for like so hard for so long. Like, you know.
Well, this is like with this is why when I was so happy to talk to NY when she was on with us, because her talking about how they can reformat the college system, like you can do that as a small college with Cornish, and I hope they do this with other colleges all around, where it's like you can just go and learn a course, you know, just go and learn a course or like a select bit of courses. Maybe you won't get that bachelor's of fine arts or whatever the fuck, like, but at least you have these courses to have under your belt. Like I trained in this, I got certified in this thing, and I did a lot less money that I had to spend to do that, and I am doing the things I'm interested in, and I don't feel locked down into like I have to go this route, you know. And like sometimes people are like, that's the route I want to go. Much love, all blessings to you, but for the people that are like, you know, I always love this one song that he says is what was it, like people in their 20s are interesting that don't know what they want to do, but the most interesting people I know didn't know what they wanted to do at 40 years old. You know what I mean? It's like they're the most interesting people because it's like there is so much life and wonder and experience to accomplish in this world, and not even just wonder and all the positive stuff. There's also turmoil and sadness and everything that is to just what life is to be a human, and you know, you got to go and experience that. You have to be able to go and experience that on your terms.
Right.
And yeah.
I mean, that's another thing. I just wish I had that. You know, I wish our society had normalized the, like, take a holiday after you do high school. Like, go take the time. Like,
people are like,
figure
what are you
out
doing?
what you want to do.
What are you doing?
Like, while you're not in high school, and you know, and if you're an athlete playing football, or if you're an artist like doing show choir and jazz band and all of these other things that basically keep your mind occupied from morning to night. You know, you don't have time while you're a high school student, nor do you have the maturity to predict what you want to be doing for the next 40 years of your life. just no one really does. And
You
if you
also
do,
have-
it's lucky. Like
Yeah.
you just happened upon it, and it happened to be the right thing 20 years later. That's got to be super rare.
Yeah. You also haven't like met enough people or seen enough places usually, unless your parents are like filthy rich, which then you already have a ticket. So like, it's just like, I don't know. I think people kind of, it's hard, and I'm one of them. Like, I have accepted a lot of crazy crap because I just want to, do what's, quote unquote, like right, or be successful. But it's like, what is success? It's like, for me, that's changed since being here in New York. Like when I first came here, our whole goal, like we were like, we're gonna go for our careers and be crazy because like Seattle is sleepy and we're ready to like move fast, which was like good because I would definitely say like Capitol Hill has my heart. I wanted to live there since I was literally like 16. Like my little trans self like saw Capitol Hill as like the glory, like heavens on earth. And so
Capitol Hill.
It was definitely like a dream come true to be there. And it's my favorite place in the world, Capitol Hill, Seattle. But I feel like doesn't push you to make the best work as an artist because the market is just not competitive. And I knew for myself, I need to be pushed, and I like change, and I always want to be, shifting and growing. So we were like, we want to grow, so let's go to New York and give it 2 to 3 years. Which we did, but our goal was like, let's make money off of like our alone and be able to afford our living. And we did it. So that was like kudos to us.
Kicking ass, you guys.
But it was not like a cute ride here. Like people know, some people know this, but like our travel in was like fucked up. Like, and it fucked me up, like, completely. Like, anyone who knows me knows that I'm, like, powerhouse, like, Napoleon complex. I'm 5 foot tall, but, like, 10 feet tall in my personality. I'm, like, actually 4'11". But, like, like, that's just, like, big dick energy. Shut up. Big dick energy, And, like, that's always been my vibe, because my parents, like, I had to be that coming up, especially being trans in Cowtown, Monroe. I had to, like, go through depression, have my parents love me, like, in the most amazing way, and then, like, just be on track and have that energy always. And, like, it's always been great. Since I got through that, everything's been great. But we decided to go to New York, and we're like, let's just like drive across the country, like
romantic,
get some time because we were newly engaged, and so we're like, perfect drive, Seattle to like New York. We'll sell the car when we get there, a little extra cash, and we'll bring some of our crap. So our car breaks down before we can get to my parents' house in Oregon. Oh, no. So like we made it like with it smoking.
One state south.
Literally one.
One state.
And
south.
Then we're like trying to cancel all our Airbnbs that we've already paid for.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
It was a nightmare because then we had
friends waiting for us in Chicago. We had this situation.
And then we had all this shit, and we were like, oh, now we need to fly, and we can't afford to ship this, like any of our stuff. And we had already broken like some of our most valuable things, cramming it into this van.
The TV.
And so it was like
TV.
literally, and then also like I was sneaking some pot out, you know? And then, like, we were like, okay, we have to leave it. So now I'm like up a creek without a paddle, no cannabis in sight, stressed the fuck out. And we're like,
We had a
have to
little
take.
cannabis inside.
Okay, no, we didn't. We were cannabis-less. Also, Legolas, like our cat,
Yes.
has extreme anxiety. It's like he's
Lego.
diagnosed. Stop being mean to him. He's sleeping. So he
doesn't pay
screamed the entire flight, and it was like not a full flight. It was like connecting flights. So he screamed at every airport we went to, scratched me all to high heaven. I was sobbing all day. Then we get to
Screamer.
baby.
Yeah, I'm talking to the cat.
No one can hear me on the cast if you talking over me to Lego.
Yeah, shut the
Lego.
fuck up, Nick.
Oh God.
But we get to when we finally get to New York
They
though.
beat me.
When we finally get to New York though,
Yeah.
our room, they've given us out of the roommates we had
Yes.
the smallest room
The couple.
for the
Not
couple.
the smallest room.
And it has no like shutters or curtains at all, and it's ground level in Brooklyn, New York. So people are just like waving at us. So
my
we're like
first words-
hiding.
My first words in the apartment were "fucking hate that," because I walked in and like the lights are on and we have these giant like floor to ceiling windows, which would be nice if we were on floor 2.
At least.
But we're not. So literally, there's no bars or nothing like blocking
floor
the window.
0.
And so I just have somebody like stop
On the
walking,
sidewalk.
look me dead in the eye, and wave. That was my introduction to my home.
Well,
They're like,
Legolas is still screaming, and
was
it's
like,
like 2 a.m.
Oh.
And we have no furniture, nothing now. So we sleep on the floor.
There's a hole in the bathroom that's raining.
Oh yeah, and
AC
then our
fluid.
bathroom, our master bath, which is on the same floor as us, they're like, oh yeah, the only part that's not finished is there's a little problem with your bathroom. So our bathroom has a gigantic hole where water is just like pouring down. And this is my New York entrance. Both Nicholas and I are like,
Water feature.
we're like, what the fuck did we do? Like, we just left our like amazing life, and now we have like nothing.
Dude,
And then we had the worst
people-
roommate.
people listen though, like people
McKenna.
pay so much for like those overhead showers though. Like that's
Oh
amazing.
my God, just like
You just got that right there.
It was so nasty.
It's-
And then our like
Rain
our
falling down around.
which said like the first week, yeah, I feel
Basking in it.
like our first month there, like the person that paid the most rent, we didn't know her going into it, and
So this is the tea.
I'm just
tea
saying, she
section.
just didn't pay any rent. So we were like, oh shit, now we have to come up with more money. We have nothing and no jobs. So, like, that was our entrance.
How did this bitch get away with not paying rent?
Because New York is crazy. Like, you can get away with everything here. And that was what broke me, really, because it was a culture shock from being in such, like, I grew up in not a progressive place,
Right.
but college was in like the most progressive of progressive places.
Uh-huh.
So then like not diverse now. New York is diverse, thank God.
Right.
But like
Right.
it's not progressive. So like within the first few months of us being here, we are being stolen from essentially by the thousands in rent because
Yeah.
they are staying in the apartment and not paying for anything, even though they have like they're bringing in like brand new TVs, but they're like, I don't have enough money for rent, sorry, but there's nothing you can legally do under New York state law.
Because her name was on the lease,
lease, yeah.
and so was ours. So if one person stops paying their section, it's as if all of us didn't pay, and that
and it
affects your
our
credit.
credit.
So you have to pay unless you want to have really poor credit, which hurts you more than a couple of thousand in the long run. So it's
Right.
like,
Well, it was you to Brittany and Devin.
Brittany, no, not Devin.
Oh,
Brittany,
just Brittany.
not Devin yet.
just
Yeah.
Brittany,
Brittany
and this other bitch.
She who shall
crazy
not be
person.
named.
This other crazy bitch. Hey, crazy bitch.
Stop.
What?
All right.
We'll bleep it out.
Hey, please.
But yeah,
Hey, please follow. But crazy bitch. You know what I mean.
But yeah,
Much love.
it was like, so we had that happen, and then I had been assaulted at work.
Fuck.
And physically, I was hit on the floor in front of people, and they caught it on camera. And then on top of that, I had someone who tried to sexually assault me at the same workplace, and they didn't do anything about it, even though both
This is
cases.
Vitae, the restaurant, which is no longer in business due to lawsuits related to this kind of activity.
Actually, I think it's COVID-19 that did them in. But anyway,
Sorry.
Either way, they're
What
done
I'm-
in. So boom.
yeah.
Karma's a bitch.
What I'm trying to say though is like it wasn't like easy making New York happen. It wasn't easy getting out of our comfort zone at all. Like, and in fact, I feel like when that all happened, we also had some like family stuff that came up. We had family come in. It was pretty tough for me.
Right.
With all of that all happened at once for the very first time, my mental psyche, it went from being like, oh, like, fuck these bitches, I don't care, I'm like, got my shit together, to like, I was like a scared, frightened baby lamb. Like, I'd be in my house and just have full-blown panic attacks for hours, just like shaking. And luckily, I had a partner who was there for me, who was like, let's take care of your mental health. I'm going to work full time, and you need to just take some time and, heal. Like, do what you need.
Right.
And so I decided to go and actually seek like a therapist and mental health help, because I'd never done that before. And I think I go so hard, so fast, that I never stopped to look at like my issues that kind of were like weird quirks. Then now, after in this new state, had gone full blown, because I had developed an extreme anxiety disorder where I had short circuited like my fight or flight. So I would just be shaking at all times, because I had gone through almost like 4 months or 5 months of just like a shit storm of turmoil, and never dealt with it. I was like, just squash that down and move along. And like, you can't do that. It's not healthy. And like, I needed to be broken to really know who I was, and then also know what I wanted. And now that I've like, since then, and since the healing, I've been the happiest I've ever been. But that's because it's genuine. It's like coming from, oh, I love you. But it's like, it's coming from like, like a real place. It's not coming from like a fake place where I'm like, oh, I'm trying to compete and get to this place. Like I really had to get real with myself and be like, do I even want to be a designer right now? And that question will always be on the table and open, because I took charge of my life in that time and was like, you have the freedom and the priority to choose above any expectation, because that's all fake and that's all bullshit. And we have conversations as a couple all the time. It's like, we get to choose our own narrative. Like, we don't have to be somewhere just because, hence why we're leaving, like it's shitty here. So we're like, let's get the hell out. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, and so when you live your life like that, where you're being honest with yourself, you take the time that you need to live your life, but then also, heal yourself when you need healing. I think a lot of us as artists, because it's so competitive, just push through it. And then we get burnt out and then really feel like failures. And it almost breaks us to a point where we almost can't get back on the horse. I was definitely there. And I honestly, like Nick will tell you, it was my mom, Nick, like everybody was like, you just got this job at VaynerMedia. You need to get your ass up and go. Because I almost just didn't even go on my first day for the job that I've gotten paid the most. It was my dream role, an art director. I'm not a junior. I'm not nothing. Like art director, VaynerMedia, my studio's on the 35th floor in brand new buildings. I have an awesome office. Like, I almost missed that because I didn't think I was good enough because I didn't deal with my mental health. And like, that's freaking crazy to think about. But like, that happens to all of us, I think. Like, whether it's an audition or a self-tape or whatever it may be, whether, you know, whatever art you're in, or even just going after different artistic avenues. Like, I was told for so long, I can't. But then I'm like, I like Childish Gambino and like, what's his name? Jordan Peele. Like, these people make, you know, amazing art across so many platforms.
Right.
So, you know. Wow. It's just like, I think it's just like finding your own strength and being honest with yourself about like what it is that you actually want and knowing that that can change and being forgiving, you know? Yeah.
Just the journey of your life is impactful. The journey that you are on is yours. It's yours to own. Sometimes things are put onto you that you didn't want put onto you. Especially, I think, especially people in the femme world, from what you're talking about with sexual assault or whatever. Like, those are things that are put onto you that is not wanted, that is stuff that is reprehensible and that we should eradicate from our culture. But regardless of that, like what you're talking about, though, is that you have to go through your life and be able to find ways of getting above it. There's Paulo Coelho, one of my favorite authors, he always says life is about falling down 7 times, getting up 8 times. Right. Yeah. And you know, I love that, but it's, you know, it's you have to take all your experience, and your experience as a person is valid, and every one of us lives different experiences, we live different lives, and all of that, every part of our experience adds to the whole of humanity. Right? To the greater collective consciousness of who we are. And so you got to be true to that. You got to be true to your struggles and be true to what's going on in your heart, in your soul, because that's where true growth is, right? And luckily, and it's awesome whenever you can find the people that are in your community that are there for you, that want to be there for you and provide and take care of you, just as you would take care of for them, which is why people get someone that loves you like Nick Vogl loves Brye Vogl, okay? That's straight up. Because, you know, like, taking that time for your mental health is an important thing, and that aids you in your journey as an artist and how to make this world a better place and how we get to grow more as human beings.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
No, and it's awesome too, because like, if you can find people that can provide that for you and you can provide that for them, it becomes this like really awesome, like for us it's a marriage, but like, you know, for other people it's like relationships do work like that. Like, my sister knows, my twin, like, I have her back for any like creative endeavor, anything she needs, and vice versa. Like, that bitch is there for me. Like, she slayed it at our wedding. She was making everybody cry in the club. She made that full speech. Like, she's like amazing, and she's also like helped me on my BFA and things like that. Like, it's like when you have people who can be there for you in your highest moments, but then also you can be yourself and really be yourself in a low moment, like with them, you know, and they can support you and love you, and there is no pressure to be anything else. I think that promotes the fastest kind of healing, because then you're like, oh shit, like, it's kind of nice, but then also it's like a weird thing too, because you're like, I have all the support in the world, so it's just on me if I don't figure my shit out, which is what it really should be. Like, we need to prioritize ourselves, and it's like, and you should find people that love you enough that are like, hey, like, you just went, like, he actually came to my job a few times beforehand, and just said, you're quitting today. Like, he just like showed up at my work and was like, and I'm taking.
I was gonna just like do the Shrek thing, throw Fiona over my shoulder, and just be like.
Yeah, it was like it was funny. One day, I actually almost took the offer because he came in with like hot chocolate and a sandwich, and a date. Like, he was like really trying to bait me out. But we had just gotten to New York, and I'm such a strong, intense, like, I have, as a non-binary person, I have like very intense femme energy and very intense mask energy, and some of that is like what I think a lot of mask people can struggle with is like the ego and balancing the ego. And I've always been someone who's prided myself on working at all times. I've never taken a break before that, and making a good amount of money. And so we were thinking at that point, because we had that crazy freaking roommate, we're like, maybe we need to like get another apartment. Like, we may, like, it's so bad. Like, this person was like, at that point she was like yelling and going crazy. So I was like, I can't afford to lose my job. But then I have my family here who's like, no, I'm taking you on a date. You want to go ice skating at Central Park? Because it's like right next to Central Park. He's like, all you have to do is quit. I got the sandwich, the whole thing. And it's like having some, like, I'm stubborn. So it took like 3 tries. But then I was like, all right, I'm done. And like, that was super good. And then I won the lawsuit. So it went really well.
Yeah.
So, like, but I wasn't even in the space to like deal with that, you know, had it not been for like that energy to be like, actually fuck those people. You need to work on you and care about you. And like, I have you until then. And then I think both of us were able to realize, because we do a tag in, tag out system. So after that, we came back from the, like, I got the job at Vayner, was doing more freelance work. We got married, went to Bali for the honeymoon, came back. And then, like, it was Nick's turn to take time off and just do whatever the heck he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got this job at Disney now, so
we're good.
Do what you need.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's important, I think, to get, we use that as like reflect time, as well as like, you know, personal time and mental health time, as well as like career for, like, we try to further our careers in those times as well.
It's a great time to shift gears.
Yeah.
You know, and be like, okay, I've been in 3rd gear for a while now. What is my 4th gear? And how am I going to get there? And give yourself the time to find it, put it in gear, match your RPMs, and accelerate, you know?
Yeah.
Some car metaphors.
I have no idea
for
what
you.
that
Were you speaking another language right now? Or why'd you just throw at us?
He's speaking like full race from his like Papa's side of the family.
Okay, I know
did get to go see Papa recently. That was so cool.
Dude, okay, this is one thing really quick, just about cars. Have you seen Hyperdrive yet? Have you seen that show? Did I tell you?
You told me to see it.
Y'all, you both need to watch it. It was so
I
cool.
hate car shows.
I know, but it's an obstacle course car show, which
That's
is
like me telling you. I mean,
Hey,
I
I've been
don't know
watching
anything
RuPaul. I've been watching RuPaul.
Only because Jinx.
Okay, yes, and
I've been begging him to watch RuPaul.
Yeah.
Every year we've been together, and the only time he's interested is when I present a drinking game that goes along with the season Jinx is in, so he could understand and know what he was talking about.
So what you're telling me
podcast.
is though is that he's watching RuPaul with you right now.
Yeah,
yes.
I've watched so many superhero stupid ass movies, and he's watched no trans films, no gay films. Basically.
I watched Brokeback Mountain with you.
That's one. I have so many.
There's so many.
We watching.
No, there's a time to talk about it. We're talking about it right now. So, all right, what?
So, Warren, will you be our marriage counselor for just a second?
Yeah, I'll put that hat on for the moment. By telling you both to watch Hyperdrive on Netflix.
Oh my God.
Yes, good for us both. I agree.
I agree.
Car content is good content.
It's also like it's a lot of women are in that show that are kicking ass. All right,
let me just. Color?
Yeah, there is. I don't know how far they got, and I can't tell you how far. But like,
there it is.
Let me tell you, they were in the races though, and also like, let me tell you though, some of the most badass racers were the Brazilians. right there.
Oh, I'm sure Brazilians are.
They,
no joke.
oh my God. I'm just saying, like, as far as like craft of what you do, some of these racers and everything, they just do amazing stuff. And it's all over the world. Like, they have people from Brazil and Japan,
Is this like a Netflix
England.
thing?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. They have a whole season of it. South America, you know what I mean? Like all these different drivers from all around the world, which is pretty cool to see. And then they like do an obstacle course. So I am
So that's
also
what
not
you're
into cars.
watching. That's what you're watching in quarantine 2020.
I watched it and like, I'm not a car guy either. All right, like
I'm
Nick's
confused. That's why I'm asking.
because it's that
Like, what
good of
got
a
you on
show.
this kick?
I was like, wow. And also, when you're like,
Okay, maybe
you're just
we
like,
need to check it out.
you're watching some cool stuff
ready.
happen. You're watching some cool stuff happen.
Now
And-
you're like planting bad ideas because I'm losing the
ideas.
fight the more you
The
talk.
best ideas.
But so, and then I'll also say this: it's also a very supportive energy throughout everything because like all these races are also really like they're supporting each other, like cheering for each other. They're the audience. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice.
So they make up their own audience,
see.
just them and their families, and so they're like cheering everybody on, which is a really cool thing to see. And then that's it for that with the Netflix show. So in contrast, what are some gay films that you want to show? What are some LGBTQ films that you're recommending? Huh? Well, I'll prescribe to both of you. What's going on here? What do you got to recommend?
Wait, I watched that one with Eddie Redmayne. I have seen a trans film.
Okay,
See?
the Danish girl.
Yeah, I watched The Danish Girl.
Oh,
You
the
haven't
Danish
seen
girl.
Boys Don't Cry.
I haven't seen Boys Don't Cry.
I
yet.
love that one
Okay.
with Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank's in it? Oh, we're watching it.
Ooh.
What? Yeah.
It's so sad. It's the Brandon Tina story. It makes
I don't know
me
it.
so sad.
I will know who it is after
Rest
I
in
see the
peace.
film.
Brandon Tina story?
Yeah, Brandon Tina was an FTM male trans person. And he basically was killed
Oh man.
after other things happened.
Right after leading up to these events. What was the name of the movie called?
Boys Don't Cry.
Boys Don't Cry.
It was nominated for, and I think it actually won Oscars
Okay.
back in the day. So yeah, was it 1994? Something around that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really good film. Yeah, the old school LGBTQ films, I'm like all for. I haven't really watched a lot of like the new Netflix content, but I do know that there's like a brand new, what's the name of that show? It's like a, basically like, I think it's a documentary featuring like kind of a highlighting transgender experience in media. And it has like Laverne Cox and stuff. And that just got released. I really want to see that. My really good friend, Camelia McCrae, she was like suggesting that to me. She's like, you have to watch it. But
Yeah. Get all the recommendations. I'm all down
I've
for
been
those.
like so busy with ABC. I literally
Totally.
I haven't had time.
I imagine.
Okay. I want to shift gears.
Okay. Shift gears.
Match revs and accelerate. So get the treble. Okay.
Rock on.
Okay. So you have been working at ABC now as a designer for almost a year. And you've been an activist your whole life. Where has working at ABC given you a bigger opportunity to spread your art, your activist art around, and where has it possibly hindered you in spreading what you would like?
Yeah. That's a super good question. It's almost like you know me or something. Yeah, that's been the goodbye, Warren.
No, I'm back. Sorry. Okay, I'm just letting you all know I have 5% battery on this phone call right now. So, well, I want to hear what you got to say, and then I think we're gonna call it off soon.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what's up?
He has 5% battery left.
Oh.
So
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear
On
what
your phone?
I want to hear what that is.
Okay.
We got time.
So now that Nick turned on the light, we can answer the question.
Perfect.
That's a good question because that's something that's like my current internal, like actual real struggle that I've been dealing with right now. I feel so mixed about my experience right now because I love my job more than any job I've ever had, which is really great. Don't make as much as I've ever had, but I love my job.
Right.
And my joy for my job and what I do, especially because ABC is a platform that is really committed to not being biased. When you look across like your, CNNs or Fox News, and like I'm someone who watches all news because I work in it, I live it, eat it, and breathe it. And I started in 2020, which damn, it's been a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
Wow.
going through impeachment, through COVID-19, then working from home, doing digital, data maps that basically are, showcasing the heat maps of coronavirus and the spread, and like, to now, covering civil unrest and stuff.
Right.
That's been, amazing because I love, focusing on the real issues. And the older I get and the more upside down I realize the world is, the more that activism has been, jumping out of me. And I feel like I need to do something. Which the flip side of that is, in the corporate world, it's really hard because, companies aren't perfect. And they have different agendas, even if it's a company that you've always loved and have always wanted to work for. And like, obviously my opinions are those of my own. They're not of Disney's. Whatever I say is what I'm saying. But like, I just feel like right now we're in a time where everyone is trying now to be unbiased in news, across all news. But if when you're working in the news, you're not allowed to speak up about how you feel about certain things because of that bias.
Right.
And I understand that to a point because as someone who works as an artist for the company, I create work that is unbiased for the company. But when I'm not allowed to express my own opinions via my art, on my own personal page that may be not from a company standpoint, that gets trickier.
Right.
And I'm red taped, and I've never had a job where that's an issue. And now I will say though, my team specifically, I have an amazing boss. My team is very diverse, and I recently, I have been able to express my concerns, and he listens to me. We have weekly one-on-ones where we talk for about an hour and sometimes more. And he asks me, how I'm doing as a person, as well as the designer, where are areas that I'm concerned. And so we have ongoing conversations about this. And Disney recently has, put out a questionnaire to ask about our feelings about this. So I do feel like, I'm able to speak up. I just wish the situation was different because something I've said to my boss as well as to Nick is you have a whole generation of people of color who have made it into the corporate world, but maybe because of their job title, they're in a contract where they may be kind of muzzled to their own individual voice.
Right.
And
would I be able to,
unfair.
since I want to keep hearing what you're saying, but since I only got 3% left, I want to just go right into the last question that we always do, which I think can be able to lead into this. So if you, as your own personal experience, if out of all this stuff that's been going on with 2020 and from civil unrest to COVID to everything, this is like a crisis moment. What would you say would be the positive that is to come out of all of this that's happening at this moment in time?
I think that question is led because I think that a lot of positivity will come if our generation and Generation Z can motivate others to not continue to accept this. Right now, we just launched today, Monday, We just launched the project on GMA, ABC News, across all platforms. It's the first that's ever happened, called Their Shared...
Their Painful Bond.
Yeah, Their Painful Bond. Sorry, they've changed so many titles. Their Painful Bond, released. And it's all the mothers of victims who have had their sons or daughters killed. So we have Trayvon Martin's mother, Breonna
Taylor's
Taylor,
mother,
everybody. And I would really encourage people to watch that and
please
do your research on what's going on, because the more that I'm looking into things, and we just went to a protest recently too, I just feel like things will get better if we don't get complacent with this. If we don't allow this to be, you know, a moment where we like fix Aunt Jemima, but like, you know, nothing else there's no reform. There's no, and I think that we are in a crisis mode. I think we have a lot of people who don't see this getting better if this just moves forward. At least for me, my kids, I'm not afford the luxury to sit around and not say something about it, not make art about it, and not like feel like I can't feel okay until it's fixed. And I can't ensure other people doing that unless I'm working on myself first. So I think, you know, I think things can get better maybe, but I'm in a different position. I'm not seeing things getting better. I see a really rough system, and I want to see new people in leadership, new people going out for politics, because things need to change. The system is completely broken all over the place. And I think that us just trying to find what can make things normal or happy again, I only think that works for some people. And I don't want to see things go back. I want to see change. So I would just say, like, in my reality, if things get better, we will have change by any means necessary. Obviously peaceful means if we can, but any means necessary to promote change. And that means actually doing the work. Versus like, you know, reposting or even creating content. Like I create content like for the news, and I don't feel like I'm doing enough. And if you don't feel like you're doing enough, you're not, because like right now we are in crisis mode, in my opinion. And at least for people like me, like I don't want to see more people dying. I don't want it to be possibly my house next. If we break out into a civil war, I am at huge risk as being a trans person of color in an interracial relationship. I have like 1 million strikes against me, and I'm refusing to ask for like that space of will you accept me? I'm demanding it, and I think more of us need to do that and find that fire and that anger, because we should be angry.
Thank you. That's a great thing to leave on. I think that there's a lot to unpack there and everything too. So Brye, thank you so much for being on this podcast with us, and I look forward to even more of these conversations with you, because especially on this podcast form, because I think that I mean we're already past 2 hours, so like this has got some good stuff going on right here. So I look forward to keep talking with you. I'm sorry that we just cut it short because of this, but
no, it's so good.
It's all good.
I think there's just going to be constantly when we have you on, it's just going to be like that. So thank you for your insight. Thank you for being on the podcast. And
thanks.
I look forward to your insight again. It's always inspirational. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I love you guys. It's been fun chatting with you both. So
awesome.
Love you, buddy.
Oh, so cute.
Oh.
Bye, everybody.
Party.
Till next time.
Bye, folks. See you later.